This week I've got more archaeological discoveries for you. Usually I try to mix it up a bit in my long form videos, alternating between news where I feature several stories and other topics where I go into a lot of detail on one particular subject. However, at the moment there are just so many interesting discoveries in the news and I want to tell you about them. So I'm starting with the high status copper burial of a woman in Iberia that was originally thought to be of a man. Then I discussed the 300,000-year-old giant stone tools found in England and the discovery of what may be royal tombs at a Bronze Age site in Cyprus. New details reveal high-ranking Copper Age burial in Spain was actually a woman. In 2008, a skeleton was discovered in a tomb near Seville, Spain, dating to between 3,200 and 2,200 years ago, that was determined to be a man. Referred to as the ivory merchant, the individual was buried with numerous grave goods indicating their high status, including an ivory tusk, an ostrich shell, a rock crystal dagger, and amber. However, a new analysis of the skeleton has revealed that it belonged to a woman, changing what we know about female leadership in the Copper Age on the Iberian Peninsula. The results of the study have been published in the journal Scientific Reports. During the Copper Age, burials on the Iberian Peninsula were mostly collective inhumations. However, this particular funerary monument at Valentina, close to Seville, was created for one individual only. It belonged to what's referred to as a Copper Age megasite, covered 450 hectares, and was characterized by monumentalism featuring megalithic chambers and large ditches. The funerary monument where the individual was discovered was created on 2 levels and lined with huge stone slabs. When it was first excavated, researchers used a standard anthropological analysis to determine the sex and age of the skeleton, which signified that it probably belonged to a man between the ages of 17 and 25. Strontium isotope analysis showed that the person was from the local area. As well as the grave goods I just mentioned, a large ceramic plate was also uncovered which had traces of wine and cannabis in it. These objects were placed in 2 phases, during the initial inhumation and sometime after. High levels of mercury were also found in the bones, suggesting exposure to cinnabar before death. The grave goods suggest that this individual was not only of high status, but probably the most high-ranking person in the entire community. It's not easy for scientists to determine the sex of a skeleton due to poor preservation of human remains. In 2021, a new study was carried out on this particular skeleton at the Center of Forensic Medicine at the Medical University of Vienna in Austria. This new research analyzed sexually dimorphic amelogenin peptides in tooth enamel and resulted in the discovery that the individual was in fact female. Rather than the ivory merchant, the individual is now referred to as the Ivory Lady. The authors of the paper mentioned that Copper Age infant burials in the area were not accompanied with grave goods, which suggests wealth and influence were not inherited but earned. This is in contrast to practices in the Bronze Age which followed. The community must have had a certain level of cohesiveness in order to construct and maintain large monuments. This, together with evidence for communal feasting, probably means the group had a leader and that this person was the woman buried in the funerary monument. Around 100 meters to the south of this tomb, known as 10.049, there is another funerary monument called the Montelirio Tholos. Made up of 2 chambers, its burials date to 2 or 3 generations after the Ivory Lady. 3 individuals were buried in the corridor, 20 in the large chamber and 2 in the small chamber. Researchers found that 15 of the 20 individuals buried in the large chamber were female and between 20 and 35 years of age, whilst the sex of the other 5 couldn't be determined. Just as in tomb 10.049, exotic grave goods were found in the large chamber, as well as remnants of clothing indicative of high status. This included a tunic fashioned from thousands of marine shell beads. Once again, high mercury levels were found, suggesting exposure to cinnabar. One woman had 6 toes on each foot, yet another case of polydactyly in the ancient world, which may have given her a special status amongst the community. The second deposit of grave goods above the Ivory Lady in tomb 10.049 was made at the same time that the Montilerio Tholos was built. It is quite possible that the Ivory Lady and the women in the Montilerio Tholos were all religious specialists of some kind and played a leadership role in the local Copper Age community. In fact, no burial of equivalent status to the Ivory Lady has been found anywhere on the Iberian Peninsula dating to the Copper Age. The only other burials to come anywhere close are those that were excavated from the nearby Montilerio Tholos. No male graves have been found with such wealth. This is in contrast to the later Bronze Age and Iron Age, where both high-status female and male burials were found which were compatible with the social stratification that characterized communities at that time. How the Ivory Lady and the women in the Montilerio Tholos acquired their status in a Copper Age economy isn't known, but it's unlikely to have been inherited or through agricultural success, so is more likely to have been through other achievements. Large stone tools dating back 300,000 years discovered in England. Excavations carried out on a hillside above the Medway Valley in Kent, England, have uncovered 800 prehistoric stone artifacts dating to 300,000 years ago during the Pleistocene epoch. The digs were carried out by UCL Archaeology Southeast in advance of construction at the site. Researchers discovered the artifacts buried in a sinkhole and an ancient river channel and have published the results of their finds in the journal Internet Archaeology. Finds included 2 giant handaxes, described as such due to them being over 22 centimeters in length. One measures 23 centimeters and the other measures 29.6 centimeters. This latter handaxe is the third largest found in Britain so far. The largest was discovered in 1919 and measures 32.3 centimeters in length, and the second largest was discovered in 2005 and measures 30.7 centimeters in length. This diagram shows where this particular handaxe, marked by the green triangle, was found within the layers of sediment. Handaxes are prehistoric stone tools which have been knapped on both sides and were probably used for killing animals and cutting meat. However, giant handaxes would have been difficult to use, so may have played a more symbolic role. They are one of the most interesting artifacts dating to the Paleolithic due to the fact most tools from that time period are considered as having been handheld, but the giant handaxes would have been difficult to use in that way. It's not clear which human species made these tools. At that time, Neanderthals and other human species all inhabited Britain. The area of the Medway Valley would have been covered in woodland and river valleys with red deer, horses, straight-tusked elephants, and lions roaming the landscape. The next step is for the research team to analyse the artefacts in order to gain insights into what they were used for and how the inhabitants of the area were adapted to that Ice Age environment. As well as these prehistoric stone tools, a Roman cemetery was also found during the excavations. It's thought a Roman villa may have stood almost a kilometre to the south. Further research will help experts learn more about burial customs at that time. A 3D model of the largest handaxe is available on Sketchfab. I've put the link in the description below. Possible royal tombs dating to the Bronze Age discovered in Cyprus. A team of archaeologists from the University of Gothenburg has discovered tombs outside the Bronze Age city of Hala Sultan Tekke in Cyprus. The city was an important centre of copper production and trade between 1500 and 1300 BCE. Although little is known about how the region was governed at that time, the rich artefacts excavated from the tombs suggest a royal dynasty was buried in them. They are some of the richest tombs ever discovered in the Mediterranean. Hala Sultan Tekke has been under excavation since 2010, and these are not the first chamber tombs to be found there. They are, however, the wealthiest. 500 grave goods were excavated, and many of these were made up of precious metals, gemstones, ivory, and fine ceramics. Around half of the materials used in the grave goods have been imported from other cultures. The gold and ivory originated in Egypt, the gemstones originated in Afghanistan, India, and Sinai, and the amber originated in the Baltic region. A lot of the ceramic vessels had come from the Aegean, and there were also examples that would have come from Anatolia, the Near East, and Egypt. Other evidence that points to the high status of the buried individuals is that some of them, both men and women, were buried wearing diadems and high-quality necklaces. The diadems were embossed with floral images as well as those of bulls, gazelles, and lions. Bronze weapons were found within the tombs, some including ivory inlays. There was also a hematite seal engraved with the names of gods and rulers. That's it. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Let me know what you think of these discoveries in the comments. A big thank you goes out to my patrons and channel members, and I'll see you next time.